You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host, Keith Angle, on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening, everybody. Keith Angle here. TGI Sports Talk's College Sports Huddle. Oh, man, after a couple weeks away, I don't know how to work the controls anymore. I got too many songs playing. My gosh. How is everybody doing? It is great to be back here. I still don't know the song I wanted to play. Let me see if this is... That is the one I wanted. All right. Keith Angle back and better than ever after a couple of weeks away. We had a great 8 or 9 days on the Caribbean. Been away for 2 weeks. We didn't have a show last week. I apologize because the internet was so bad, and I'm still fighting that with Carnival to get my money back because it's the worst experience I'd ever had with internet on a cruise ship. And we like to do our remotes, and I think I did one Super Bowl Sunday. So lots happened since we've been here last. We had a Super Bowl winner, which we won't talk about today, but we'll probably talk about on Friday's Are You Serious show. We'll talk about on Sunday. But lots going on in college basketball. We've got teams still moving up, teams still moving down, teams trying to position themselves for the NCAA tournament, if not their own conference tournaments, which start, by the way, on the 27th. The Atlantic Sun starts, and we'll talk a little bit about that before we get done tonight, because next week we'll be in full bore into the conference tournaments. Now we're getting to the really fun time of college basketball. Atlantic Sun Conference starts this weekend. Who's the favorite there? Take a quick look at that before we move on. Oh, gosh, so long away. I don't know how to find what I'm looking for. Where's my standings? Here we go. Atlantic Sun, Kennesaw State Owls, and Liberty will be fighting it out for the first seed in that tournament. So we'll talk a little bit about that before the night's over. Well, next week we'll dive full bore into all of the conference tournaments, which will be, again, in full force next weekend. But lots going on. Houston, back on top solidly with the slump for Purdue and Alabama losing. Alabama's got a lot going on. Their freshman star Miller in the news now more about the tragic shooting that took a young woman's life down there near campus. It's amazing to me that they've been able to keep it together. Maybe this will be a rallying thing for the team. I mean, there's 2 young men in jail. This young man is not implicated in any way in the crime, but you got to be you just have to be, more aware of what's going on around you, I guess. Rick Sherlock, welcome back. Thank you, buddy. I know you like the remotes, Rick, and I apologize to you specifically because it just wasn't working out, man. The internet was horrendous. Good evening, Alan. Good to have you with us. So we'll get into the top 25 here in a minute. We'll look at some of the big games that have changed. Will have changed or impacted those rankings since they came out on Sunday. We'll take some more look at bracketology, the top 16s, top 16 seeds. The NCAA tries to do what they do with football, with the top 16 reveal from now until the full bracket is released. Is it as dramatic? I don't know. I mean, it's I guess worth chatting about, but we chatted about it here every week anyway. So we'll look at that. We'll get around the conferences and see what's going on there. So see if there's anybody, we'll look at each conference with who's got work to do, who's in. Carlos has left Port's back on shore. Oh my God. I got to tell you, Another expensive trip. I showed you guys a picture of the jail there in, where were we? St. Kitts. It'd have been better off if I got put in there. Carlos Ahoy. So we're back. Carlos, we got to decide what to talk about. I guess we got to talk about the Super Bowl Friday. We don't get into it tonight, but tonight we'll get into everything I just talked about. We'll get into some news. I'll talk a little bit about the Alabama situation, the Michigan State situation, and basketball. There's some great basketball being played. There's some big surprises, some big disappointments around the conference map. If we have time, we'll get into some college football. You know, what are the big and it packs basketball, too. It's not just football, right? And everybody knows, or should know by now, that I'm old school, man. I do not like the realignment, but it's here. I mean, it's here, and what are we going to do? And I'm starting to come to the conclusion, and we'll talk about this for just a second before I dive into the top 25. And you guys, again, feel free to bring up any topics you want. You know that it's your show. You're my co-hosts. But what is I've come to the conclusion that the only way, I don't know, I got the controls up on my, there we go. The only way the Big 12 and the Pac-12 are going to survive this raid by the SEC and the Big 10 and more to come, there's rumors every day. It may come down. I've decided, and this sounds totally unlike me, they might better just combine leagues right now. Combine their leagues. Save the big boys from leaving maybe. But how are they going to keep, when you think about it, how's the Pac-12 going to keep Oregon and Washington, for instance? Or, you know, the Big 12 going to keep whoever, Kansas. And they're not football schools, so Oklahoma State. $30 million basically is a difference between $30 million per team is a difference now between the Big 10, SEC, and the schools in these other conferences at a minimum. So they might better just, I wasn't going to talk a lot about this tonight, but I was reading an article, you know, just before I came up into the studio. Sorry, it's not the deck of a ship. I wish I was there too. The only way, we got a Big 2 now, and maybe they're going to need to combine. Maybe that's what's got to happen. Let's see. I'm going to talk. Let me get back to that, Rick. I just want to get a couple here. Come down here. Yeah, she doesn't know. Yeah, it's snowing here now, by the way. So it's going to, and I think we're going to get 2 to 4 here. I don't know what we're getting. Rick, you can tell me what we're getting in some of the outlying areas, but no, while I'm away, it's 60 freaking degrees. Very good point here. We'll get into some of the rankings here in a second. Alan, best team in your state, and Kenny Gifford. Props to Kenny Gifford. He's been touting Oral Roberts for quite some time. And they're a good basketball team. They've had a good basketball team for a while. You know, I'm not sure what's going on here. I started reading an article. Well, I didn't read the article. I read the first couple bits of it, but, you know, it was basically, satire in saying that Alabama, and I'm not blaming Nate Oates here, by the way. Nate Oates has taken a lot of heat for some things he said at a press conference, but this, and again, it should have been better spoken. But he doesn't make this decision alone, by the way, if he wants to keep his job. But something's wrong here. I don't know. He brought the gun to the man. The weird part is the story is very odd, Rick. And I don't disagree with you. Until we know what's going on, it's possible that Miller should be gone too. But the police have said there's nothing to charge him with, so I'm not sure how you can remove him from the basketball team. If he knew what was going to go down, I guess the better question is, as far as I can ascertain, this is a legally held handgun. But why is a college kid walking around with a legal handgun anyway? Listen, I'm not against handguns. I'm really not. You know my political persuasions. You probably understand that. I don't want one. And I don't know what a 19-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid needs one walking around the University of Alabama, but maybe it's more dangerous than I think. I don't know. But the stories, it gets uglier by the minute. And it's a little ominous when the district attorney says, when asked why he didn't charge him, he didn't say he didn't do anything wrong, but all he said was we didn't have anything we could charge him with. So it's an ugly story. And I started to tell you about the article I saw that was a bit satire. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we'll spend as much time as you want. That they should start using their zero suspension policy as a recruiting tool. You know, obviously playing off of zero tolerance. Man, it's not a good look for Alabama. And it's a shame because Nate Oates has done such a good job there. And I don't know whether, he just signed a big extension. His team was just number one in the country, ascending to number one in the country when this all started to come down. And it's, I don't know. I'm going to dive into this deeper, certainly before we get into the tournaments next week, and we'll talk more about this. Something that just smells funny here. And I don't think, as I do a lot of times, where Nate Oates, by all accounts, has a sterling reputation as a coach and administrator and whatnot, right? I don't think this is a guy who's let a program get out of control. I think he's got some bad kids there. And I don't know. I'm going to dive into it some more, though. There is, what's funny though, and this is back on the court. I know we're going to dive into that a little bit too, Carlos. Well, there is, but here's the thing. I mean, and you should like this. You like parity in sports, as we've talked about on our U series. There's a lot of parity in college basketball. We saw Gonzaga go almost undefeated before they lost in the final a couple of years ago, but you rarely see teams with one or two losses winning, it seems, right? Remember when Marquette won in 77? Oh, you guys aren't as old as me, Rick is. They had 7 losses. That was a lot. Villanova won with like 11 losses in the 80s. That's not going to be that abnormal anymore because parity, whether you like it or not, I like super teams. Whatever sport we're talking about, I like super teams because you got somebody to root against or root for. And I think it builds interest. Gonzaga, when they went on a great run a couple of years ago, there was a lot of interest in their games. But now we've got, NIL money. We've got the transfer portal and all stuff I'm not going to spend, 2 hours talking about again tonight. That has leveled the playing field. You're not going to see this. You're going to see teams get beat. What's Houston got? 3 losses? 2 losses. That's a pretty good record, actually. But that's as good as you're going to get most of the time. That doesn't mean it won't be aberrations. March, this will be an interesting March. And Rick, I'm not dismissing your comments about Miller. I want to know more about this whole situation, and I will tell you I will be looking into it extensively. Again, the accounts I heard today, he didn't bring the gun there to be used in a shooting. He just had the gun, left the gun. I just don't know. But you got to be better. What do you got here, Alan, right now? They would be ranked 28th. Is that right? Let me look back down here. 14. It's shocking to me. And I'll talk about a couple teams that I don't think should be in here. And one of them is a team that's one of my, outsiders, and injuries have really cost them. And I think they're going to get better. Good evening, CA. Good to have you with us. It's just, Anyway, let's dive into this. Let's go right into the top 25, and then we can look at some of the games that have been played this week that are going to change it already. And we'll have your comments. I do want to jump into that Oral Roberts thing real quickly through the top 25. Houston, as I said, not just in first place now, but solidly there. 48 first place votes. Alabama second, dropped down a spot. We talked about their problems here, and this could get worse for them. Kansas, all of a sudden, after dropping 4 in a row or 4 out of 5 and falling almost out of the top 10, they've now got 7 first place votes, and they're number 3 in the country. UCLA up to 4. Don't dismiss UCLA out of the Pac-10 or Arizona out of the Pac-10 as Final Four contenders. They're really good teams. I know it's a weak league. UCLA is a good team. Mitch Cronin needs to be a little bit quiet about the NCAA, but just coach your team, Mitch, and shut up. You're a good coach. Purdue, really, really struggling here the last couple of weeks. I still think they'll get it back together. They're down to number 5. Virginia up to number 6. Arizona at 7. Texas falls a couple spots to 8. Baylor, they won't stay here long as they got beat last night. We'll talk about that in a second. They're at 9. Marquette, number 10 in the country. Big win on the road at Creighton last night, I believe. They were picked to finish 9th in the Big East. 9th. Shaka Smart, who was a big star rising when he was at VCU. If you remember, he took VCU out of nowhere. I think he took them out of the first 4. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. This is probably back in, 10 years, probably more than 10 years ago. Took VCU from the first 4 to the Final 4. Same year Butler went, I believe, and almost beat Duke in the final. Got the job at Texas. Didn't quite mesh at Texas. Didn't get it done. Nobody gets it done at Texas, though. They should, but they don't. He moves on to probably a better fit for him at Marquette and a really good basketball tradition. Good job, Shaka Smart. Tennessee, after 2 weeks ago here, I said Rick Barnes' best team. They lose some games since then. Fall all the way down to number 11. Gonzaga, trying to hang in there, 23-5. They're in the first 16. St. Mary's isn't, but I still say St. Mary's will be ranked ahead of Gonzaga come tournament time when they beat them. Well, they got to beat them probably twice. They're going to play them, I believe, in the conference. They still play them in the regular season, I think. And certainly they'll probably likely to match up in the tournament, the conference tournament. Miami, the U, all the way up to number 13. Jim Larangara doing a great job. Maybe the ACC is a little better than we thought. I don't know. But the Blue Bloods aren't, though. Kansas State, they get they're going to fall. They fell at 14. They lost last night. St. Mary's is up to number 15. Xavier at 16 stayed flat. Indiana drops 3 spots after a tough week, down to 17. And losing, I believe, to Michigan State. Was it Michigan State the other night in a very emotional game after the shootings there on campus? Tom Izzo's an incredible, not just an incredible coach, but incredible person. I'll get to your comments here in a second, guys. UConn up a couple to 2. To 2. Up a couple to 18. Creighton will fall from that 19th spot. Providence with a tough game tonight is at 20. Northwestern up 5. 20-7 in the Big Ten. Well, overall. San Diego State, 22. Iowa State, 23. Down 4. TCU, 2. Down 2 to 24. And Texas A&M with a nice win last night. They're at 25. Just on the outside, NC State, I'm okay with them being dropped back out. They lost to Syracuse, who's really not that good. Pittsburgh, they might be doing it smoke and mirrors. Jeff Capel was on the verge of losing his job. Oral Roberts, I agree with Alan's comments. They're the best team in Oklahoma, and this is a team that I could put in there over TCU, who's really struggled the last couple of weeks with some injuries and record-wise, obviously. Maybe the San Diego State team I could drop. Maybe Northwestern I could drop. Probably Iowa State at this point with 9 losses. I mean, Oral Roberts needs to be ranked. And I guess it doesn't matter at the end of the day if they're ranked or not ranked, because the seedings are what will matter, and the matchups in the tournament are what will matter. Of course, the seedings now would help, excuse me. So what do you got here? Right now, they'd be ranked 28. No, I agree. They should be in the top 25. I just gave you at least 3 teams that I would say Oral Roberts should be ranked over at this point. By the way, NC State and Florida Atlantic fell out of the top 25. Good evening again. I already said that, right, CA? Duke and UNC alumni going to watch from BWs and making trips to support those teams. To do what? You know, things are not good in the ACC. Let's talk a little bit about the ACC. Where are we since we talked last? Virginia has leaped. Clemson's really fallen down the rankings. They're 11-5 now in the conference. They're in 4th place behind Virginia, 13-3. Miami, 14-4. Pittsburgh, 13-4. Clemson's down to 11-5. NC State, after losing to Syracuse, is 11-6. Those teams should all be in the tournament. Clemson's getting no love when it comes to the bracketology people, though. Syracuse 9-7, 16-11 overall. They're not going to sneak in. North Carolina. Duke's been very up and down. North Carolina's been on a bad skid here. 8-8 in the conference. Hubert Davis, look at the former players don't work out here. I talked to somebody on the cruise from North Carolina who's a big Tar Heel fan, and he is not a big Hubert Davis fan, and he feels this is Matt Doherty 2.0. Matt Doherty had a pretty good start to his career in North Carolina, and it went in the toilet pretty quick. And he got the job after coaching just a year, I believe, at Notre Dame. And there's, so if you get compared to Matt Doherty, man, I don't know if things are going all that well for you. What do you got here? Off subject. Did you get your answer? Excellent. And I wasn't there. Off subject. Finally got my answer on Jim Chook. And okay, well, good. We'll talk about that, Rick. Remind me. Don't let me forget that. I'm glad you did. Did you get it? You got it on the Sunday show. Okay, I couldn't get it. I was trying to get on. I couldn't get on. Gosh. So I've been on a couple Sundays, I guess, with those guys. I've been on a couple Sundays or a couple Fridays. So we'll do that. I'm glad you got it. I'm really curious to hear what the answer is. So, what else did I want to jump into before we? Should we just go around? Let me do this. I want to go. Let's go to my bracketology first. This is again Joe Lenardi. We'll talk about his. Before I do that, let's get to some of these games. We'll go to bracketology. We'll get to some of these games that have had some impact since this top 25 came out. So let's start with, boy, the calendar keeps jumping around here. Monday, TCU loses. TCU probably, as I mentioned a minute ago, will drop out. Allen, Oral Roberts keeps winning. TCU is probably one of those teams that can leapfrog into the top 25. Kansas getting hot at the right time. There's only been a couple of teams that have won back-to-back championships in the last 50 years. Florida did it under Billy Donovan, the 90s or maybe early 2000s. Duke. And I think I'm forgetting one other team. But this is something that is not an everyday occurrence, and they're getting hot and out the right time. They had their little slump, and they're suddenly right back. As I said, they got 7 first-place votes. They're number 3 in the country. They beat TCU on the road. Good win for them on Monday night. On Tuesday night, Iowa State continues to fall down the rankings. Got their 10th loss, getting whacked at Texas 72-54. Iowa State played well early in the year. They're down to 8-8 in the Big 12, or 8-7 in the Big 12. They're going the wrong way. Another team Oral Roberts should pass this week, Alan. Baylor will drop out of the top 10. Kansas State beat them 75-65 on Tuesday. I guess I misspoke on that Kansas State game. Didn't they play last night, though? Oh, last night was Tuesday. Good grief. I still don't know what day it is. Kansas State gets a win yesterday. I was watching the highlights earlier. For some reason, I thought they were showing all these teams that got upset. I thought Kansas State was one of them. But they handily beat Baylor 75-65. Marquette, as I mentioned, now 14-3 in the Big East, in control. 22-6 overall. Shaka Smart, look at to me, he could be the coach of the year right now. 73-71 over Creighton last night. Tennessee loses again. Quite a swoon since I said Rick Barnes had his best team. They lose to Texas A&M, who's been red hot at home. I'm sorry, Texas A&M was home, to be clear, 68-63. Miami, the U, 76-70 over a mediocre Virginia Tech team. But on the road, any road wins are good wins. Villanova suddenly resurgent. I wouldn't want to play them in the tournament, the Big East tournament. They've been playing much better basketball. They win 64-63 over number 16 Xavier. Indiana, as I said, a very emotional game. First game played on campus at Michigan State since shooting occurred. They just whacked Indiana 80-65. And there was a tribute to those fallen students there, and another tragedy that it just gets too, we have to talk about too often. So great job, though, by Tom Izzo. He's one of the classiest individuals, one of the best people, men, in college basketball. And a great coach, but that's besides the point. And San Diego State, who I just kind of got on in the Mountain West. Mountain West is, better than we think, as I keep talking about. But Oral Roberts needs to get that respect. Let's see what we got here. No busting, Keith. You should be proud to be considered a mentor. No, what is that? No busting. Oh, I see. Where did he bust me? I missed it. Or are these coming out of order? UConn's leading Providence at the half. Let's take a look at some scores real quick. That's the tough game I was talking about. UConn playing some better basketball. They'll be, tough to deal with in the Big East tournament as well. Yes, 37-32. Good call there. You also have Virginia losing early. 21-15 to Virginia. Other games in the top 25. Number 1, Houston will get Tulane at home. Tulane's sneaky. They beat Houston once this year. Let's not forget. And Alabama will go to South Carolina in a game they should win. But you know what, man? These crowds are going to get rough with the Alabama team. They're going to get really rough. There you go. There you go. Thank you. It's actually 21-15, but I know I was slow getting to your comments. Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports. Good to have you with us. Thank you for the comment. Great to have you back, my shipmate, Robert. My shipmate was not Robert Kraft, somebody much better looking than Robert Kraft. But Bob's usually buying. I have to buy. When do I take over as GM? And also, do you have a recharge enough to battle Carlos? Yes. I don't need. Yeah, actually, I don't need to be that recharged about battle Carlos, Dan. But listen, Dan. If I'm not mistaken, Dan, I hope you'll comment. Dan and I are going to have a quick conversation tomorrow, as I'll bring up now that I keep mentioning you guys that I want to get back to doing some of the interviews that were the genesis of this show in the beginning. And Dan's been doing some of the legwork to put this together, and he's let me know several times that he's made some good progress. We'll see tomorrow when we converse how that's going. And Dan himself, I believe, Dan, if I'm not mistaken, you've been back on the air this week. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at the videos because I've been so busy trying to get back in the swing of real life. But hopefully Dan will be back with us on Let's Talk New York Sports soon as well. Alan advertised you being on his show. He did call me a mentor. I did see that. Listen, I'm not so sure anybody ought to have me as a mentor, but I appreciate the kind words, Alan. I don't know what we're going to talk about Sunday, but I'll make sure that I don't give him too hard a time. Uh-oh, John DeLon's in the room. Boy, I got to tell you, the casino got me good. And it's my own fault because I broke a couple of cardinal rules. One, until the last day, I don't gamble except I walk through the casino and I play 50 on black on the roulette wheel. And I let that ride all week if I win. And I didn't do that. I ended up at the Alchemy Bar before dinner every night and was enjoying that and never walked over and played my $50. And then instead of playing any real games the last night, because that's my rule, I did it on Thursday, I think it was. My wife went up early, and if she's watching, I apologize again, babe. It got to be a long night. I started playing some Texas Hold'em with some other folks and played till about 4 a.m. And I did very well, but I played too long and partook of too many adult beverages. And so the casino didn't get my money, but this nice guy from Texas did. So anyway, we had fun. Thanks for asking, John. It was fun, though. What do you got here, Dan? Excited. Hooked some pretty big ones. All right. Not yet. Big one. Was it hooked some pretty big ones? He's not yet. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to find out. So we'll get back, guys. We're gonna, as I said, I hope once we got into March, we could do, even if it's one a month, get it in there. It'll be fun. Nice. They got me for a little more. Maybe that was you I was with. Were you on a cruise last week, John? John DeLon sitting in the weeds waiting for me to get drunk. Oh, man. The Alchemy Bar is my favorite place. And I usually don't drink before dinner. A couple martinis, maybe a couple old fashions. Maybe a brandy or a bourbon or a cognac after dinner. And Keith's early to bed. Not this night, though. Bad move. Oh, what was I doing? Anyway. Let's take a look at bracketology real quick. This is Joe Lenardi. Then we'll go around the leagues. We'll go around the leagues and see who's got work to do and whatnot. Yeah, I was living the spy life. All right, man. They're probably watching me. Oh God, we'll get into some of this. Let's look at the bracket watch, bracketology. Joe Lenardi, remember, We can agree and we can disagree. And as always, what do you got here, Alan? Every time I've gone to a casino, I came out with at least 20 ahead. I'd have been happy to be 20 behind. Well, so listen, you're making money, buddy. Don't worry about how much it is. It was a bad effort by Keith. And it's because, again, I broke a cardinal rule. You don't get drunk and keep gambling. You take your money, 5 bills, I'm up. Not smart enough to walk away. Anyway, my bad. Where am I here? Floating, yeah, it was Floating Casino Royale. I'd actually never been the last one to leave a casino. Well, that might be a little, because in Vegas, they don't ever leave. On the ships, they do, some of them. I think there might have been some old biddies still at these slot machines. I don't know. On the bubble, who are the last 4 buys in Joe Lunardi's brackets? And by the way, remember, the ASUN, the Atlantic Sun Tournament starts the 27th. We'll talk a little bit about it tonight. That's not one of the bigger ones, but next week, we'll talk about all the conference tournaments, because everything we talk about right now is going to be changed a gazillion times, in the next 3 weeks before we have the reveal of the real bracket. Anyway, the last 4 buys by Joe Lunardi. Memphis out of the AAC. Boise State out of the Mountain West. Oklahoma State. Interesting. Not a bad basketball team. I'm going to talk a little about the Big 12, though. West Virginia. I'm not buying it. Let me look at this real quick, Alan. Both these teams. God, this annoys me. I got to say this every stinking week. West Virginia is in 1, 2, 3. How many teams are in here? 2, 4, 6. Hold on. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 teams. They're in 9th place. 9th place in the conference. 5 and 10. 16 and 12 overall. He's got them in a conference. I'm not buying it. Oklahoma State. All right. 7 and 8. I say you should be 500. But stop, Joe Lunardi, with the West Virginia. And if in the committee, if you put them in there, oh my God. Amazing. Last 4 in. Nevada. Again, out of the Mountain West. Mississippi State. USC. Wisconsin. I don't know if I'm buying Wisconsin. Can I buy Wisconsin? Where are they? Oh my God. 7 and 9, 15 and 11. They are in 9th. What do we got? 12 teams? 7th place. No, that's not right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th place. Not 10th place at 9 and 7. 7 and 9, guys. Oh my God. First 4 out, North Carolina. They need to be out right now. They're going to have to win that conference tournament to do anything here, I'm thinking. Charleston still hasn't beaten a team in the top 100. Win the conference tournament, you'll be in. New Mexico. Richard Pitino's done a great job there, but they are not worthy of a bid. Not yet. They're going to probably have, if they get their conference championship, because the Mountain West is going to be a shootout. If they win that conference tournament, then maybe they get in. And Utah State also from the Mountain West in the first 4 out. In the next 4 out, Oregon, Arizona State, who played well early. Bobby Hurley had this team playing very well, and it's kind of fallen apart. Texas Tech and Penn State. The number 1s were Alabama, Houston, obviously, Kansas, and Purdue. No surprises. The breakdown, this is for Lunardi. Hold on. Oh, my seat's falling. Oh, God. Here's Lunardi's breakdown by conference. Big 10, 9 teams. Big 12, 8 teams. I just can't see it. We're going to go through the conferences here in a second. SEC, 8. ACC, 5. Big East, 5. Mountain West, 3. Pac-12, 3. WCC, 2. That's Gonzaga and with St. Mary's. And I'm telling you right now, St. Mary's will be ranked ahead of Gonzaga because they will lose the conference tournament to them. And the American with 2. What do we got here? Got some comments we got to get back to. Not too many. You're buying Oklahoma State. Well, listen, there's no question if you're going to compare just these two teams, Alan. I got to say Syracuse belongs in a tournament more than West Virginia. And Syracuse doesn't belong in a tournament. Oh, right. College baseball heating up. We'll get there. CA, we'll get there. Right now, with the conference basketball tournaments, it's just too much going on. I got to find some good sites for ESPN and maybe The Athletic. I got to check The Athletic out. I haven't checked out their college baseball coverage, but we're going to get there. We'll get Larry Sorensen on to talk a little bit about ACC play. So, and actually, you know what? I don't want my printers going off here. I want to see something. Not to break my momentum here. We're going to go into the tournaments, but I'm just curious. They don't even talk about. Yeah, I'll find. We'll get into college baseball because I really want to cover it this year. Because last year was an exciting College World Series. In any event, let's move to. We had this. I got to get to the right. Oh God, really? Maybe it must be here. That's not what I want. Got to find what I'm looking for here. Get myself all queued up, then it's hours later. I go eat dinner, and I got nothing. I'm excited. If you're not excited this time of year for college basketball, man, it's hard to stay, you know. I don't know what to tell you. All right, here we go. Conference by conference. Who's in, who's out, who's got work to do. And we'll start with the ACC. The only locks right now, So again, that means you're in. You got locks, should be in and work to do. Virginia and Miami are definitely going to be in. Miami's played tremendous basketball the entire year. And again, a down year for the ACC. I get that. Virginia, been very good. Typical Tony Bennett team, really good defense. Duke, right now they're projected at a number 7 seed, I think, by Lunardi. What do you got here, John DeLon, before we go on? For one, I understand LSU spent a bunch of NIL money on baseball and could cruise to Omaha. Well, that'll be something to follow then, won't it? Let me see I got to put a banner up here. I didn't put any banner up as we get talking about this. I'm still on Sunday show for crying out loud. Here we are. Bracketology. We'll stay here. So who's got work to do? NC State's body of work is probably good enough to get in. The Syracuse loss the other night, not a good loss. It was very interesting that I'm trying to think of I can't think of the coach's name right now. Let me see. I got it right here somewhere. The coach from North Carolina State. Him and Jim Boeheim had an interesting exchange. I don't know if anybody saw this the other night or last week, I guess, while I was away. Syracuse had just beaten him, I think, by 3. There was a very extended handshake, and Jim Valvano, God rest his soul, I don't know why he came to mind. Jim Boeheim put his hand on his shoulder. He laughed a little bit, but it did not look like it was a ha laugh. I'm not really sure what the deal was there, and I haven't been able to find a lot of information about it. If somebody has some, then please share with me what the hell was going on there, because I'd love to know. And I can't find his name right now. I'm not going to keep looking for it. So let's move on. So they still got some work to do. Pitt, who's had a really good year, but they're hovering not really good in some of the metrics, which, again, some of them drive me nuts. They really have them like out of the top 64 teams. I shouldn't say that. They're around 50, which would not get them in an at-large bid. But Jeff Capel's done a good job under tough circumstances because he's been on the firing block pretty much since last season ended. But I think Pitt's going to be in. North Carolina certainly with a lot of work to do in my mind here. And this is something that's going to bear watching here for a bit. Anybody else that we want to talk about here in the ACC? That would, by the way, leave out Clemson, who's 11-5, 19-8 overall. Little bit of a surprise there. I would say that team is more deserving probably than Duke right now. Certainly more deserving than North Carolina. So I'm a little surprised at that result in the ACC. What do we got here? Every sport, I would like to see the best regular season teams play each other, just to see the best two teams play each other. In every sport, I would like to see the regular season teams play each other. Here's my problem. I'm not sure what you're talking about here, Carlos. I'm really not. Maybe one of your other comments explains it, but I'm not crazy about the fact that these tournaments, and I know they generate a lot of money and a lot of interest and a lot of TV ratings, but some of these teams can have a great regular season, especially in the one-bid leagues. And take a Coastal Carolina, Charleston or a Florida Atlantic, maybe a Siena in certain years. You have great regular seasons and get knocked out of your tournament and you're done. That's it. So I don't know that I'm crazy about, and I understand why we have them, but the regular season champion, maybe they should be in. And then the conference tournament champions go into an at-large bid. Not like teams in a playoff format again. So you're talking about the tournament now, I think, Carlos? Or maybe you're talking about baseball. I'm not sure. There you go. We're still on baseball a little bit. That's fine. Last year, Tennessee got knocked out of the College World Series, and that team was by far one of the best teams that fell short. I would not disagree with that. But again, you can't just because how are you going to decide? You can't decide when not all these teams play each other who the best teams are. It's no different in basketball than it is in no different in baseball than it is in basketball or football. We don't know who's better because everybody doesn't play each other. Pretty soon we'll have one super conference, and they will. But Kevin Keats. Is that the North Carolina State coach? Did you see that? Did you see that altercation? Not altercation, but did you see that interaction the other night, Rick? I'm guessing that's who you're telling me that is. Not sure why else that would come in. Let's find out. Kevin Keats. I got it. Yeah. I mean, did we see this interaction the other night? Because it was really weird. Well, again, if you're not good enough, here's the thing, though, Carlos. Whatever format you have, and again, I'm all for the college football going to the 12 teams. I would have gone to 16. Don't get Basement Bob mad at me. No more lawsuits. My lawyer retired. But whether it's okay, if you just want to let computers like the BCS era line up two best teams to play in all these sports, well, that nobody liked that. All right. So if you're the best team, you should be able to beat all these teams in a playoff, and that would be that. So if you're not the best team and you can't go through a gauntlet, then don't talk to me. Not you, but them. Could happen. Hosting regionals hasn't ever assured a trip to Omaha. Who's hosting a regional? That's you guys are really wanting to get into college baseball. That's awesome. We're going to do that. I'll make sure. It's going to be hard with the tournaments coming up, but we'll try to put some time aside for this show for college baseball. I promise you. Got to go. See you, Alan. Have a good one. Alan's going to be on Sports Scope tonight with Robert Butler. Another great show you can see here on Let's Talk Sports, and I believe he's still also on Northeast Streaming Sports as this show is. So make sure you're talking and doing an NFL draft review of the Miami Dolphins. Tell Tua to retire before he gets hurt badly. All right, where was I? Big 12, you're leaving at the wrong time, Alan. Stick around. The locks, because this is where I my head starts to explode. I have no argument here with the locks. Kansas, Texas, Iowa State, I might argue is not a lock. I think they should be in, but I don't think they're a lock anymore. Baylor's a lock. Kansas State's a lock. I would say Iowa State has work to do. TCU, after being really good early in the year, had some injuries. Mike Miles Jr., their big star, missed 4 of these losses they had. I think they've lost 4 of their last 5. And he's going to be coming back. And maybe this team can get hot at the right time. They played well in a tournament last year. We'll see whether they can get it together now. But they certainly got some work to do, I would say. So does Oklahoma State, by the way. So does West Virginia. I wouldn't even say West Virginia's got work to do. I don't think they can get in. I don't think they should get in. Oklahoma State, I'll give you as a work to do team. Texas Tech. Now I get it. They were 1-10 in the Big Ten on February 8th, and they've reeled off 4 straight wins. Does that put them in, contention to be in the NCAA playoff? Stop. Texas Tech shouldn't even be considered a bubble watch team. Bubble. Did I say Bubba? 5-10 in the league. 16-12. Same record as West Virginia. I mean, it's just, I don't get it. What do you got here, John? John thinks baseball's pretty boring. I don't. I mean, listen, I'm not getting into baseball and why it's not boring necessarily today on the show. We'll do it some other time. There are reasons baseball's gotten more boring. I think college baseball, to be honest with you, I wish they'd play with wooden bats. Other than that, I think college baseball can be a better watch than Major League Baseball a lot of times. John does hear things from time to time about LSU and SEC baseball on ESPN radio in Baton Rouge. Well, it's good to hear that stuff. We like to hear it. This is a college sports huddle. Wake and Alabama both have players on the Mohawks last year. I'll get up there, I promise you. I'll definitely come up maybe when they play the Dutchmen. Dutchmen still in the league? The Albany Dutchmen, Rick? I think they are. I'd love to get up there now. Listen, and let me give some kudos to both the perfect I think it's a perfect game league, right? Rick, you can correct me if I'm saying this wrong. But the perfect game league and the Amsterdam Mohawks in general, and Brian Spagnuolo has done a great job up there rehabbing the old Mohawk carpetbaggers stadium. They had minor league baseball there years ago. They've done a great job. I believe that some of the seating came from the old Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia, and it's just a beautiful ballpark, and it's a fun night out too. I've been there and I haven't been there in years. And Rick, I'd love to get there with you and Kenny for sure. Yeah, well, I think I would agree with you 100%. It's definitely a cost issue, and I don't like it because you can't judge players that well. So, anyway, it's become the stream of consciousness show, right? The Big East. Locks, Golden Eagles of Marquette, still the Warriors to me. I heard something today that just blew my mind. The University of Vermont is going to be taking down all of the art pictures around campus that have any depiction of slavery. You know, and listen, I'm not promoting slavery, but I have to tell you, stop. And I'm going to go off on a little tangent here, and you guys just bear with me for a second. Stop tearing down statues. Stop tearing down paintings, because, guys, there's a very real axiom that those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. Right? We don't have to be proud of all of our history, but it's real. It happened, and you can't just whitewash it and pretend it didn't. So stop doing that. Same thing with the names of some of these teams. I'm sorry I get off on a little tangent. I heard that story this morning, and it just irritated me. Anyway, back to basketball. So I probably just pissed off a bunch of people. UConn, Creighton. I would agree with all of that. Providence probably will be in. Work to do. Seton Hall. Listen, I will say this. Shasheen Holloway has done a tremendous job at Seton Hall. They got off to a tough start, but right now they're 16-12. What are they in the conference? This is his first year there. Remember, he took St. Peter's to the Elite Eight last year. Did a tremendous job. This team is now 9-8 in the league. Over 500, one of my criteria. And he's done a better job with less talent than Mike Anderson's been able to do at St. John's. Mike Anderson's going to get fired. I don't know how. He's got some talented players. Posh Alexander, one of the best players in the league last year, has regressed. Shasheen Holloway's done more with less at Seton Hall than Mike Anderson's done at St. John's. I think Seton Hall is going to be a tough out in the Big East tournament and could find their way into the NCAA tournament. Texas Tech has some good wins. I get it. I get good wins, right? But you can't have just a few good wins and be 5 games under 500 in your league and get in. And then there'll be more deserving teams at home. If you're going to let these teams in, then you better just open it up. Let's just play all 254 teams, whatever it is. So I'm going to add 2 more games to the tournament. Andre Jackson for UConn. He is playing he's a good defensive player. There's some really good players on this team, and they overcame they're another team that's overcome a little bit of a tough spell. And Danny Hurley has done a tremendous job, as I keep saying, at UConn. And this team, let's see, where are they? They're not only 9-7 in the league, but they're playing better basketball right now than they have all season. Well, not all season, but in probably a month or better. Still going to be tough go for them in a tournament. I think this is going to be an exciting tournament. And I think, listen, Providence we're saying they got work to do. They're 12-4 in a conference. They're probably in. You just can't lose to the likes of Georgetown or DePaul or somebody early in the tournament, right? And Seton Hall's going to be, Villanova's going to be dangerous in that tournament still. You got to be careful. Should be a fun tournament. I love the NCAA tournament, especially the first 2 weeks or 2 weekends or 2 rounds. That Thursday to Sunday. Best 4 days, maybe in sports. for a lot of reasons. But just next 2 weeks with conference tournaments can be far more exciting than the overall tournament in my mind. Now, again, I still say you shouldn't lose out on a great regular season because of losing your conference tournament. Maybe they need to find a way to put both of them in. By the way, that would also eliminate some of my problems with 5 and 10 teams getting in. Unless they were good enough to win their tournament, then by all means put them in the tournament. I'm okay with that. Where are we? 8 o'clock? Big Ten. Sorry for my little political rant earlier. I guess it's not a political rant, but it's just me. Big Ten locks, Boilermakers for sure. Indiana, be careful, Mike Woodson. You're sliding a little. Should be in. Northwestern. To me, there's still work to be done. Maryland, still work to be done. Iowa, I think, is in. Fran McCaffrey's got this team playing really good basketball. They got off to a bad start. His own son left the team for some personal reasons. I think they're in. Illinois, not playing as well as his talent says it should. Bruce Underwood will probably have them playing good in the tournament, so we'll see. They'll probably get in. Michigan State, this is Tom Izzo's time of year to shine. They've struggled a bit this year. We'll see if they can rebound. Rutgers has had a bad start or a bad stretch here to kind of put them on the bubble. Wisconsin, I don't see Wisconsin unless they make a good run in the tournament. I don't see them in. I don't see Penn State in unless they make a good run here. That's just me. What do we got here from CA? I'm all for Robert E. Lee to have a statue everywhere he was present on the battlefield. It is ridiculous to have his name on school park statues all over the South where he'd never been. That's a good point. Listen, and I'm not saying, Robert E. Lee and everybody's got their own opinion, right? Listen, this isn't a race thing for me either, by the way. This is, it's a history thing. There are things that we need to have present that we aren't necessarily celebrating, right? Robert E. Lee just happened to be born in the wrong part of the country. Anyway, I don't know what to say. Again, it's just so frustrating that we can't wipe out history because we don't like it. You're condemned to repeat it if you do. Anyway, I agree, that your point's certainly taken there, CA. Anyway, speaking of history, how about the Pac-12? Lots of history there. The UCLA Bruins are a lock. Probably, and Mitch Cronin aside, he didn't get a number 1 seed in the first 16. Who cares, Mitch? Go win your conference tournament. You're going to be a number 1 seed. I'm pretty sure you'll be a number 1 seed. Because somebody's going to lose, right? Alabama, Kansas, Purdue, who was the other? Houston. Somebody's going to lose in their conference tournament. Mitch Cronin, go win your conference tournament, and you'll be a number 1 seed most likely. And you know what? The difference between a 1 and a 2 isn't that big a deal. It's just not. It's just not. Work to do, USC, Oregon, Utah, Arizona State. Let's take a look at some of those records because let's see what I think here. Pac-12. Can't spell. The Perth Education should tell me that P comes before S. Right, Rick? Ay. All right. So UCLA, Arizona, obviously ranked in the top 10. They're in. USC 11-5 in conference, 19-8 overall. Some good wins. Arizona State fell back a little, as I said, after a really good start under Bobby Hurley. Utah's fallen back recently. Oregon's going to need to have a good tournament. Oregon's not in at 9-8 in this. A 9-8 and not a deep league. UCLA and Arizona are really good. But the league goes, you get to 3-4 and you're getting, there's a big drop. And there's certainly a big drop after Utah. Down to Oregon, Washington State. Bad years, a lot of bad years. Colorado's really bad. Stanford's really bad. Oregon State's really bad. Cal's really bad. You'll be looking at a new coach out there, by the way. SEC. Locks. Alabama for sure, regardless of their issues, which we're going to hear a lot about. We're going to talk a lot about, unfortunately, these next four weeks. Tennessee, they're still a lock, I'd say, but this is a bad time of year to be taking the kind of tumbles they're taking. Texas A&M, I think now their body of work is solid enough they should be in. Arkansas probably is in. They've recovered a little bit recently. They thrashed Georgia recently by 32 in Fayetteville. They're getting healthy. They could be a team to watch out for. I'm not going to tout them the way I did last year, but watch out for them. Auburn probably should be in. Missouri, I'll take a look at their record in a second. Kentucky playing better. Again, the Blue Bloods, man. The Blue Bloods like Carolina, Duke, Kentucky. Been tough going for these guys. Mississippi State, some work to do. I know they had them in the last 4 in, I believe. Lenardi did. Let's take a quick look at the SEC. Alabama definitely in. Texas A&M definitely in. 13-2 in the conference. In a really good conference. And really a pretty deep conference. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go out right now. And I said this a month ago that Big 12 was the best conference in NCAA basketball. I think it's the SEC now. With the way Texas A&M has started to play, the way Kentucky's rebounded, the way Missouri's played this year, Arizona's rebounded from a bad start, Florida's still hanging tough. I mean, I can't put Mississippi State in over Florida right now. Can't do it. Missouri 8-7, 28 overall. I think Missouri's going to get in. So we'll see. The American. We know Houston's a lock, right? Work to do, Memphis. How's Tulane not getting any consideration? They beat Houston this year at home, I know. But how do they not get any consideration at all? Let me take a quick look here. And we'll take a look at a couple of the other. We got some time. Where's the American? How come I can't ever find them? There they are. Houston. Obviously 13-1, 25-2. Tulane's second at 10-3. 17-7 overall. Memphis is a half game behind them because they have 4 losses. And they're 20-7. What have they done head to head? Let me see. Who am I looking at here? Tulane. How they done against Memphis? They beat Memphis 96-89 at home. And they beat Memphis on the road. How are they not even getting a smell? A smell. How are they not even getting a sniff of a bubble watch? What's Temple? What do they got to do? Tulane, sorry, not Temple. Did I read that wrong? No, I'm wondering if I read that wrong. Hold on. Back and bowl. Oh. Did I do that? Let me make sure I didn't read that wrong. No, I was on Tulane. Yeah. They beat Memphis twice. What's Tulane got to do? CA, Hogs are in. I agree. Yeah, Arkansas gets some. I've seen some good publicity, good press for the Arkansas baseball team for sure. All right, what's next here? Mountain West. So listen, I'm going to start a campaign right now that Tulane has got to be considered for this NCAA tournament. They're not even getting a sniff. Mountain West, the locks, San Diego State, Aztecs, work to do, Boise State, Nevada, Utah State, New Mexico. Let's see how far I want to take this conversation. Scroll down. Come here. Mountain West. Boise State 11-3, 21-6. Nevada 21-7. Utah 22-7. New Mexico 20-7. They're only 7-7 in the league. I think New Mexico's a team that should get let out. I think this league should get 4 bids to the tournament. It's been a good league. Glad to see Arizona. I think it's a commentator. On the football side, Herm should have stayed a commentator because Herm didn't do a good job at Arizona. Herm had the institutional control was not good there at Arizona. But he said, you play to win the games. He's not doing basketball, is he, Rick? We'll talk a little bit of football maybe in a little bit. The others, you definitely know that out of the WCC, we've got Gonzaga and St. Mary's are both locks. I still think Gonzaga will be St. Mary's will be ranked ahead of Gonzaga because they will win that. I think they win. I'm going to say right now that they're going to win the regular season. I think they can still do that. Yeah, they're 13-1. They got another game against Gonzaga coming up. I think they sweep the regular season and the conference tournament, and I think they go in as a top 4 seed, and Gonzaga's not. Been saying that for a while. We'll see if that holds true or not. Some other teams that have some work to do. Florida Atlantic, probably going to have to win their tournament. Oral Roberts, we talked about this team before. They're 25-4. Their losses are to some really good teams. They've lost to Houston, St. Mary's, Utah State, and New Mexico. That's their losses, guys. Best team in Oklahoma. Now the question becomes if they made a Sweet 16 here just 2 years ago. It's going to be very interesting to see if this team gets in and doesn't win their conference tournament. Very interesting case study. They got to be in either way in my mind. Let's see. Actually, where does Larnardi have them? He's got to have them in his bracket, right? Let's take a quick look. You guys talk amongst yourselves. He's got them as 11 seed. Let's see who he's got coming to Albany now. Let's see who he's got coming to Albany right now. This has been changing, obviously, weekly. Come on, where are you? Oh, probably not. What the hell? Birmingham, Orlando, Des Moines, Denver, Albany, UConn. Right now, his matchups in Albany are UConn and West Virginia, who shouldn't be in the tournament. Please. Gonzaga and Iona. So he's got Iona winning the MAC and beating out Siena. Let's take a quick look there, because I thought Siena was still leading that conference. Local interest here. Iona's back in first place, 13-3. Siena's on have won 7 in a row. Rick Pitino's got his team playing really good basketball. And by the way, Rick Pitino, when he came to Iona, he said, I want to end my basketball career here. And now he's making noise that he certainly wants one more shot at the big time. Thanks, Iona. All right, so he's going to have them out. Interesting. Who else we got in this Albany? So Gonzaga and Iona would actually be an interesting game if that were to come off. Who else would be in the Albany pod? It's hard to find these games because they're in different regions. But I know there's 4 more teams here. Where are they? There they are. Creighton, Kent State, Creighton and Kent State, Indiana, and Yale. Interesting. Those are, I think, 7 of the 8 teams might be different than the last time I saw this. Still trying to decide if I want to get myself a ticket to this event. I'm not going to go alone. I got to find somebody to go. My wife's not going to go sit and watch basketball on that Thursday from noon until midnight. So, and the ticket's not that cheap. We'll see. We'll see how we pull that off. Who else? Some Cinderellas. Did we have any Cinderellas we wanted to talk about? Potential Cinderellas? I don't want to talk about that. How about football? Anything going on in football? I'm going to find some baseball. CA and John DeLon, if you're still with me, your job right now is give me the best site to find baseball news, college baseball news. Because, quite honestly, the traditional path to sports is terrible. Let me see what the Athletics got here. I don't even have any. I mean, that's a crying shame. What do we got back? What's going on in football? Anything going on in college football we need to talk about? Cincinnati's going to hired VT's Brad Glenn as offensive coordinator. Big deal. AAC schedules out. Oh, big deal. Penn State's going to do some renovations at Beaver Stadium. I hope part of it is putting Joe Paterno's statue back up. Oh. Horrible story at Penn State, guys. And what Sandusky did there, Jerry Sandusky's an animal, a low-life piece of scum. And the administrators, I don't hold much regard for either. I just don't know that Paterno should have been treated as harshly as he was. And maybe that's hypocritical. Maybe you're telling me I can't say the administrators should know and Paterno didn't. But, I mean, it's an ugly, ugly story. But I think Joe Paterno's legacy and the way that all ended was so sad. This man didn't do anything wrong. If he turned a blind eye, yes, he definitely did something wrong, but I'm not so sure that he did. I hope I'm right. I don't know. Governor DeSantis, love him or hate him, you might have an idea how I feel about Governor DeSantis. He repealed the state's restrictions on college athletics to make money on NIL deals. Couple of this restrictions removes restrictions. Excuse me, got marbles in my mouth. Put in place by the first version of the law and now allows coaches to assist players in facilitating deals. This I'm not crazy about. I kind of like Ron DeSantis myself, but coaches can't get involved in these deals. This can't happen. The university still will not be allowed to pay student athletes directly, but the changes will put Florida on an even playing field with the rest of the nation, which I understand. I've been saying all along, they're not supposed to be involved. That was not what the rule was put in place for. And, again, I would not say Ron DeSantis is one of my least favorite people. I like him. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. What do you got here? LSU's Malik Neighbors was arrested for, oh my God, illegally carrying a weapon yesterday, but the state won't press charges because he doesn't want his gun back. I think I did see this story. Why would you bring a gun to Mardi Gras? Oh my God, right? You can't make it up. Baseball America. Hadn't thought about Baseball America. Thank you for that. It's funny. Baseball America was one of my when actually we read publications, was one of my go-to sources, and I got away from it probably because I got lazy. We'll check that out. Thank you, CA, and we'll talk more college college baseball as we go along. So anyway, more great news as far as college athletes being able to make millions of dollars. And I know, John, I know you're for that. So Mardi Gras is dangerous. I haven't been to Mardi Gras in almost 20 years. Well, it's dangerous if kids from frickin' LSU are going to bring guns. It was never, listen, I like New Orleans a lot, but I wouldn't go there during Mardi Gras myself. I mean, especially today, there's so many wackos in the world that and I don't want to go somewhere. I'm a bit claustrophobic, and I can't see just dancing down the street, just being crushed by hundreds of people on either side of me, and in front of me, and in back of me, and I just don't think I could do it. Some other news in college football: Kevin Sumlin is back in the game as co-offensive coordinator and tight ends coach at Maryland. Kevin Sumlin had a nice run at Houston. A nice run for a time, and then a mediocre run at Texas A&M, and then just an atrocious run at Arizona. So that's some football news. And we're at 8:23. What else you guys got today? You got any other, what do you got here? We're going to talk some more Mardi Gras. 5 people were shot dead at St. Gerald Street Sunday. I don't blame you, John. And how far are you from New Orleans, by the way? No, New Orleans. What am I watching that's based in New Orleans? Oh, if you haven't watched the show, I'll give you guys a show to watch. It's on Showtime. If you haven't watched Your Honor with Bryan Cranston, 2 seasons, it's a great show. It's a great show. It's based in New Orleans. Maybe you've seen it, John. It's being as you're in the area there. Oh, I hate, it's hard. It's hard being at a ball game, much less in something like this where you're just being, I don't even know how you can get anywhere you want to go. One time. I was there one time. I was much younger. Don't care to be there again. About 90 minutes from New Orleans. Go at least twice a month. It is nice when the crowds aren't there, right? It's a great city. It's a great city. Took a cruise. Speaking, I was on a cruise, obviously, as we all know, or I know. And just came back. And we did cruise out of New Orleans one time. And I have to tell you, that was one of the coolest places to sail out of. as we got to sail down the mouth of the Mississippi into the Gulf, and that was a lot of fun. Those are the kinds of things I like. Because we're always going out of Florida, and you're just, you're leaving. I mean, Port Canaveral, you do go out. There's nothing to see, but you're going out at least through the port. But most of Florida, nothing exciting about leaving. New York is a lot of fun going out of the harbor, past the Statue of Liberty, etc. New Orleans was a lot of fun going out through, as I said, down the Mississippi. The Aquarium of the Americas and all the restaurants. We got to get back and spend some real time in New Orleans, not just a night overnight before we leave on a cruise or something. So, definitely got that to do. And Jen, if you haven't checked out Your Honor, I don't know what your anybody's TV tastes are. If you like kind of gritty, there's gangster stuff, corrupt cops, a lot of good stuff. Your Honor's a great show with Bryan Cranston. Check it out. Just in the middle of season 2 right now. In fact, we caught up on 2 episodes we missed last night. What else? Anything else, guys? Throw it at me if you got it. What's this here about, college football leaders should consider all solutions for clock rule changes. Discussions, and college football games are going longer than ever, and I get that. But please, let's not diametrically change the game just to speed it up, because I guarantee you there's rules that will already enforce them. So anyway, whatever. I think I've liked then if you're The Mandalorian is awesome. Big Bang Theory was very good. So I was going to say don't watch network TV, obviously, but you obviously if you watch Mandalorian, you're not just watching. You gotta stream today. Some of the original programming on the pay channels are really good. There's some good stuff. Succession is really good. I think that's on Showtime as well. And what I do is I get them. I'll get them while it's running and only pay for it for a couple of months, or I'll wait till it runs. The shows have all aired, and then I'll get it for a month on a deal, and then we binge them all, and we're done with it. So anyway, there's some good stuff out there if you look hard enough. It all depends on your taste, right? Anyway, guys, listen. We're going to wrap it up tonight. Been a fun time. It's great being back after a couple of weeks away. Had a great time. A lot of good talk. You guys, again, are my co-hosts, my co-pilots on the show. I had a blast. Thanks to John for coming in. Rick Sherlock, obviously. Alan, as always. CA, you're always a great contributor. Dan Harris, thank you from Let's Talk Sports. I'm going to talk to Dan tomorrow. We'll see if maybe he's going to be returning to Let's Talk New York Sports with yours truly soon. We'll see how that's going to work out. And Carlos, obviously, thank you. You'll see Carlos and I on Are You Serious come Friday morning. And guys, thanks for tuning in. Watch Are You Serious? Watch the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. Please go to TGI Sports Talk, like the page, follow the page if you're not already. Guys like CA, I know you found us on YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube if you haven't. And also hop on to Facebook if you haven't, and like and follow the page, and invite your friends. We're at 2,000 followers. Let's keep going. And thanks to Northeast Streaming Sports and Let's Talk Sports, 2 of our outlets that air these shows as well. Guys, it's been a lot of fun tonight. The fun is just started in college basketball, and we'll be back to cover all the conference tournament action next week. We'll see you soon. Have a great one.